Hi, and welcome to Feature Fridays. My name is Guy Bartram. I'm the Director of Product Marketing in our Cloud Services Business Unit in VMware. And today I'm joined by Brian from GDIT and Daniel also from VMware. So let's just start with Brian, just a quick introduction from yourself.
Yeah, no problem, Guy. Thanks for having me on the show today. My name is Brian Whiteknight. I am the Partner Director and Cloud Service Lead for the milCloud 2.0 program that is owned by GDIT.
Excellent. We're going to get to all that detail in a second. And Daniel, quick intro for those who don't know you. I don't know what planet they've been on, but let's just pretend that someone doesn't know you out there. Go for it.
Sure. Second time on this, Daniel Beluzik. I am part of the cloud provider solution architecture team. And so I've been supporting GDIT and the milCloud team for a couple of years now. So really excited about talking about this with Brian.
Okay, brilliant. Well, listen, Brian, thank you so much for coming, and Daniel for your time today. Let's just take it from the top. So for our global customers who are out there, what is GDIT? Who are they? Where are you based? And what do you do?
Yeah, so General Dynamics Information Technology is what GDIT stands for. We are a very large government contractor. We're one subsidiary that's part of the big company called GD, or General Dynamics. We're literally about 1/10 of it, right? So we're a $40 billion a year total company, but GDIT on its own is about $11 billion a year company. And the majority of what we do is government contracts for information technology and cloud.
So this is like highly specialized work, long-term contracts with Department of Defense in the US, very, very secure environments, and totally tuned to being able to deliver services to government. That would be correct?
Yeah,
okay.
100% correct. I mean, the best way to think of this is like, we're like the commercial version of cloud, like either GCP, AWS, Azure, but we're that what's called the on-premise cloud for all military agencies and the DoD. And that's very specific in that case, because we're behind gates, guards, and guns, as we like to say, or on military bases. So we're actually cloud operations regionally inside military bases.
Wow, that's pretty intense, and the whole just kind of behind gates, guards, and guns just fills me with fear. But okay, so milCloud is the military cloud, I'm guessing now, the abbreviation, right. And it's 2.0. So what was? Let's start with just rewind a little bit. What was 1.0 all about?
Yeah, so very good question. milCloud 1.0 was what we like to call in the industry a GOGO, or government-owned, government-operated. DISA is the Defense Information Systems Agency, and they are the one that owned, operated, and controlled that milCloud 1 cloud, right? And it was the first iteration of milCloud, and what they realized is they couldn't create the most well-rounded cloud without partnering with a commercial industry partner like GDIT in order to build it together in joint partnership. So that is what spurred milCloud 2.0, which is what we like to call in the industry a COCO, or company-owned, company-operated cloud. So DISA still owns and operates the milCloud contract, but we satisfy the entire cloud operations in their data centers. So that's the partnership, right? We control the racks, the networking, the compute, the storage. They control the floor space, cooling, and all the other stuff associated with networking.
So that's like probably the biggest differentiator then for this totally, is that you have a government organization that is working with DISA and yourselves to jointly bring a cloud solution which brings all the goodness of external commercial capabilities into a secure government audited and regulated environment, with you hosting the solution for them. So they're just the consumer of the solution, right?
100%, you're spot on.
Okay, and so from a consumer perspective then, let's just, before we go any further, let's just discuss a little bit. I know you probably can't tell us everything, but let's discuss what are the main products that we're talking about here from a VMware perspective.
Yeah, so where milCloud 2.0 shines, I think, is in and far and above our IaaS, right? It's that joint partnership that we have with VMware And we are the first ever to market with the first on-demand native VMware IaaS at Impact Level 5 and FedRAMP High accreditation. That's a mouthful, but it is a major accomplishment in the fact that very few CSPs, even commercially, have built an on-demand VMware-based environment with all your VMware licensing included. And oh, by the way, it's controlled by the vSphere and vCenter, which are the kind of leaders in the industry for virtualization and cloud migration. So it's a great partnership with both of that. But where milCloud 2.0 shines is 100% its IaaS. And then secondarily, we know we can't compete with other big CSPs like AWS and Azure and GCP with the depth and breadth of the commercial services they have. So the other thing we've chosen to do is bring on very specialized cloud services as well. So stuff like Oracle Exadata IaaS, right? So we offer Exadata. We also offer Rubrik services. Rubrik is one of the leaders in the industry for backup solutions and data indexing. So lots of really cool things, but we try and get those specialty cloud services, and we try and be the best in the business for IaaS.
So looking at, so the IaaS is primarily going to be delivered by VMware Cloud Director, right? And then it's a self-service solution essentially for government mission partners, and we'll dive into what a mission partner is in a second because it sounds very cool. For mission partners to consume, so they're actually just consuming self-service IaaS, and then you've got all of the extensibility and products like Rubrik surrounding that to round off the IaaS solution.
Yeah, 100%. So you're spot on, right? Mission partners, just to set the stage. Mission partners essentially are our customers, right? It's the agencies, the military services that support the mission at hand, and that's why we call them mission partners. But you're spot on, right? Is they can go into our provisioning portal, which is vCloud Director skinned to look like milCloud 2.0, and start buying one virtual machine and deploying it right off the bat, right? That's how easy it is. You can, as soon as you get your account information, you can start building one virtual machine, a group of virtual machines through vApps. You can do virtual networking with NSX under the covers. It's an amazing purpose-built solution that is highly self-service. Okay,
that's cool. And so just thinking from the commercial aspect here. So are you doing a lot of kind of pre-approved pricing? Is that what's making it easier to deliver these services faster?
Yeah, so I love where you transitioned with this, because that is the key to this entire thing, right? It's what it all boils down to. And three simple things it boils down to is you were spot on about the government, right? Is three major challenges the government has always had is the red tape, the procurement cycles. Obviously, the red tape is the procurement cycles that they have to go through, which is, I'm going to throw a lot of acronyms out there, so bear with me, but it's TO based on task order process, IDIQ, BPA, RFX. So it's all these processes that have to be. That's why I don't want to go crazy with it.
But don't worry.
Long story short, it can take anywhere from 6 to 18 months to procure one cloud service. And as we know in the business of cloud, that just is not going to work, because cloud advances so much quicker than that. So by the time you vetted that entire cloud service offering, it's totally antiquated. So the beauty behind the milCloud 2 contract is it's pre-competed, as you said, right? It's pre-competed, pre-approved by the DoD to be able, for mission partners to be able to go to it in sometimes less than 48 hours. Usually it's about a week. But literally we've collapsed that procurement cycle down from months and months and months to a week. And that is with that pre-approval and pre-competed nature.
So this is making a real difference to how Department of Defense and all of the projects and programs or missions that they've got running, how their partners are able to react to changes in theater, for example, in a hot zone, and be able to do different things much quicker than they ever did before.
Yeah, you're spot on. It stems down to that ease of procurement, right? And they can use MIPR funds, government credit card. Those are the two forms of color money that we take. And again, they can do it in a matter of days and involved in weeks. And the other two pieces of what I was talking about, the challenges, and Daniel can weigh in here, I think beautifully, is the reason why we partnered with VMware on this 100% is key, right? The other two challenges are networking right? Cloud constraints of networking, and especially when it comes to the Department of Defense and the DoDIN, or Department of Defense Information Network. Some people call it DISN too, the Defense Information Systems Network. Lots of acronyms thrown out there, but that's number one, is the networking requirements of the cloud. And then number two is refactoring those applications that have been built for legacy amount of time to a cloud offering, right? Is AWS and Azure, while they are amazing at the depth and breadth of their services, they are 100% natively built. So you have to build your reference architecture to those. The value that VMware brings to the table is it gives that massive seamless migration to be able to essentially vMotion over applications and workloads into our cloud with far less effort than ever has been imagined. So really cool stuff. And I'll have Danny weigh in too.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Brian. I think working with the team over the past couple of years, operationalizing this architecture, what we did is we used our cloud provider platform, and Cloud Director is front and center. It's that glue. It's the heart of what we have used for milCloud 2.0. And providing the service delivery platform that allows us to onboard mission partners. But also one of the biggest requirements was, how do we actually get mission partners to move their workloads over that may have a legacy vSphere environment, right? Mm-hmm. And we did this with Cloud Director Availability. So the milCloud 2 team said, we're going to go operationalize Cloud Director Availability in the 2 sites. So we'll have the cloud architecture there. And then we're going to ship the on-premises appliance to any mission partners that says, hey, how are you going to migrate your workloads over to your VCD environment? This is all done through a single form factor appliance that's deployed, connects securely over the Department of Defense network. And now on a self-service basis, they can move their workloads from their existing platform over to the milCloud 2 platform. And this is again done by the mission partner or mission entity, or with help with GDIT. And I think that that's the value here, is we've provided a completely certified platform working with GDIT, and they were able to expedite their accreditation, help with launching this in a monumental amount of time, and ability to deliver this in an out-of-box and very intuitive experience model, right? And I think that's the exciting part of this.
Yeah, I mean, so it sounds absolutely spot on in terms of that kind of capability to allow an organization who needs to have the type of flexibility that cloud gives them, but can't do that because they're running old stuff. They're not suitable for GCP, AWS, Azure, you name it. And also, they have to operate within a secure environment. So having that pre-approved target just to migrate to, and I can't emphasize enough, I think, the power of the ability to move from one vSphere environment to another vSphere environment and do that self-service, actually have the customer drive it from their end. It's like the utopia lift and shift that everyone thought cloud was going to be 10 years ago, and it turned out to be nothing like that. And now it is. I mean, so Daniel, you also said a really good point there about like the standards and compliance, and Brian, you mentioned IL5 and FedRAMP. Dan, just give us a bit of an idea. What did that actually mean from a kind of VMware footprint, and how involved were you in that whole story of getting to IL5?
I would say most of the work was done on the GDIT team. They had to go through all the auditing process. But from my lens, what I looked at is we look at from a security and compliance vector perspective. So when you look at Cloud Director, we've done a lot of work on converting Cloud Director from a installable binary that's installed on a Linux system to a hardened virtual appliance. And so one of the key factors here in working with the milCloud 2 team is looking at that virtual appliance and providing a hardened state on that, since that is the point of entry on that. So we work closely with milCloud 2 team, our backend engineering team, to add in some of these functions. And some of you that are watching this, you'll probably have seen FIPS compliance come out in some of our release notes, right? We've really looked at this from not just a public sector perspective, but also look at this from an aggregate perspective on how do we provide a secure state that meets a level of regulatory compliance out of the box without any other fine advanced parameters, fine tuning, right? And have that built in upon day one implementation. And so my focus has been working with the team closely when they were going through FedRAMP accreditation, when they would tell me, hey, we found this, how do we solve this, right? And then working with our engineering team to say, let's go build this into our workflow to actually have this mitigated in a future release. And that's what's been most exciting and most fruitful is it's been a development partnership in many ways with Brian and the team at GDIT is taking a lot of this great insight, and looking at this and saying, how can we build a better appliance and architecture for everybody globally in our cloud provider community on that? And I think that was, something that I really enjoyed, and we continue to do it today, right, Brian? So it's ongoing, and I don't think it'll ever stop. But I think it really talks to the partnership we've had throughout this time.
Yeah, I mean, security is like without doubt, the single most important thing probably for you guys at the moment is ensuring that that platform reaches the accreditations necessary to carry on serving your mission and military, customers, your consumers. So just to, looking at the VCloud Director, the VMware Cloud Director kind of view of things, and looking at security, I know you're not going to be able to tell us much about this, Brian, because obviously it's secret. But I think there's some aspects of, like Daniel alluded to, we created the appliances. You've kind of obviously locked down those images, perhaps some more, those appliances some more. There's also things like considering security of the hardware and looking at like the CPU and fencing and using trusted VTPM, I think it was from Intel. And then of course there's the encryption kind of factor. So I guess you guys are using all of this. How's the experience been for you in working with these? What is quite new, some of that, particularly things like encryption in VCD, encryption for Cloud Director Availability and cloud to cloud, and the appliance and stuff like that. So how's that experience been for you guys?
Yeah, so first of all, right, Daniel has been an amazing asset to our team. And we can laugh about this now, but we hit some pretty heavy roadblocks building this out, because nobody has ever taken this from cradle to grave, right? Nobody has ever taken it through impact level assessment, through FedRAMP High assessment, through all these different hurdles to get there. So we uncovered quite a bit. And so we had to directly work with VMware's product teams to adjust certain things and get beta testing. And it was a beautiful partnership that we were able to build these kind of nuances out that some of their software didn't already have. So it was an amazing accomplishment to get from there to here. And right now, obviously, we have IL5 or Impact Level 5 activated. It's also called NIPRNet. NIPR is essentially like secret region or slightly unclassified information. We are on the precipice as well of delivering this on-demand VMware environment in IL6, also called SIPR or top secret environment. So really cool stuff in all those things, but you touched on quite a bit of things, right? The number one paramount key to our cloud that we kind of jump right into right off the bat is security. And we have all these levels of security to get there. And I'll pull up a design here in a second, which will really help people visualize what I'm talking about. But essentially, there is a major firewall that before you get to the DoDIN or Department of Defense Information Network that DISA manages, called the ICAP or Internal Cloud Access Point. That's kind of the big heavy firewall for everything. Then once you get into there, we have multiple levels of security, multiple softwares, checking things, monitoring things. So you're spot on, right? And one of the things that we've also been the first to bring to market is, you hit the nail on the head, VTPM or Virtual Trusted Platform Manager. What that does is it operationalizes encrypted VMs and encrypted storage volumes together. So now mission partners not only have access to a highly secure cloud, but they now have the ability to deploy a encrypted VM and a storage volume together. So the level of security is pretty much unparalleled in this cloud as it stands today. So with that, I'll kick it back to you, Guy, but I'll pull up that drawing, which is really going to help mission partners understand what I'm talking about from a networking perspective here.
Yeah, sure. I mean, every data center has various levels and layers in there of security and networking. I can only guess that there's quite considerable amount of layers in between, and with each layer comes, for example, like internet access controls, and we don't want software communicating out to the internet without it being vetted and validated, perhaps, or in an IL6 or an above scenario where it actually has to be totally separate. I don't know what IL level that would be, but we certainly deal with organizations where the things like syncing a catalog to the marketplace for us. That could be very easy for our engineers to go and build and design, and great for probably 90% of service providers. But then there's the few service providers who don't allow any outbound comms from their core OSS, like Cloud Director.
Yeah, just really quickly, I threw this up for that really good visual, right, to help people understand. But I always liken this to like a solar system. The sun is the center, or the DoDIN, the Department of Defense Information Network, is the center of everything. And that's what all mission partners or agencies and military services need to access, right? That's the highly secure network in order to get operations done and to be able to perform at that infrastructure level. And what you'll see here is you'll even see AWS, and I'll just mention this because they're a very strategic partner of ours, and there's a big VMware story with that one too. So I'll mention that here in a second. But again, at the center is the DoDIN network. In order to get to milCloud is the bottom part of that network, right? milCloud is in 2 data centers, so they're regionally separated. And we're in those 2 data centers with this VMware IaaS, right? So we have regional separation, we have direct interconnect for high network throughput. Again, you'll see here in the bottom right-hand corner, we access through the DISA ICAP, or internal cloud access point. The beautiful thing is it connects to obviously NIPRNet from there through edge gateways. And when you look at the holistic design of this, obviously the mission partner or the customer is at the top of this illustration. We also have AWS GovCloud. And why that is very, very beneficial to anybody out there that understands this, right, is there's a lot of things out in the ether talking about the Department of Defense Information Network, and the DoD cloud key pillars, right? And the 3 key pillars that are part of the DoD is number 1, milCloud 2.0, which is amazing. We're now one of the key pillars. It's GDI, that's been in the it's been in the news a huge amount. That stands for the Joint Enterprise Defense Infrastructure. And then the third tier of that is DEOS, stands for the Defense and Enterprise Office Solutions Contract. The cool thing about this is GDIT owns and operates 2 of those key pillars. We own and operate milCloud 2.0. We own and operate DEOS. Not many people talk about this, but we're part of the key pillar of the entire DoD strategy. And the main reason why we've evolved to that is because we now offer AWS GovCloud services through the milCloud 2.0 contract. Why that's beneficial is, again, now mission partners can come to milCloud 2, buy AWS GovCloud services in that less than 48-hour clip, and start deploying on AWS Management Console right away. So the cool thing about that from a VMware perspective is there's this little thing that we love to call VMC on AWS, or VMware Cloud. What it does is it holistically ties the VMware common thread together across all clouds. And that is key for DoD agencies because it now allows them to port or move infrastructure wherever they need to do, in theater, out theater, at the tactical edge. It's a really cool storyline. So that's kind of the holistic picture of this illustration that I wanted to get through, but back to you, Guy.
Yeah, and I'd like to interject here. I think it's important to provide that flexibility and choice, right? There's going to be use cases where a mission partner is going to say, I need to go use a native hyperscaler or cloud native experience, right? And I go consume services through AWS GovCloud. I need to use milCloud 2 VCD environment to provide those workloads or move over those workloads or create them in a vSphere-based environment. So I think the value here is you guys are providing choice and flexibility to these mission partners, whatever the form factor or whatever the use case is. Yeah. And I think that is, something that's unprecedented as of today, right? Until today. So
if you rewind to their old environment, I mean, this is like a whole different kind of level of capability and flexibility and hybridity that they never had before. And I think this is a really good point, actually, because you do need to have some hyperscale capabilities I believe in every environment. There's going to be a need for using the right cloud for the requirement, right tool for the job type of thing. And with that flexibility, then having that optional hybridity is, well, actually, being able to reverse that decision or move that out, or having the options to move to somewhere else for cost, performance, security, and whatever it might be, is a unique offering, I think, to certainly in this case to the DoD mission partners. How's your DoD mission partners changed in the last few years? How have their demands kind of evolved as you've now presented them, the holy grail of all this IaaS that they can eat and access to AWS, GovCloud? How have their demands changed?
Yeah, so it's funny you asked that, because we've literally been in what we call TEMs, technical engagement meetings, with, I think at this point, over 1,000 different mission partners and agencies. So massive amount of data that we have, an understanding of what you're exactly asking, right? And the best way to describe it, it's a multitude of legacy is the best way to put it. It's legacy infrastructure. All these agencies were buying tons of different hardware from multiple different vendors that didn't necessarily talk to each other, software that wasn't agnostic or API driven, lots of different stuff, right? So number one, it was, excuse me. Number one, it was legacy challenges, right? Is trying to figure out the multitude of landscape and vendor partners that are out there that are servicing hundreds of different agencies and how to tie that together. Number two, it was not understanding. They thought they had a clear picture of their data, all their applications and where they sat. But then when you did app rationalization and when you went to uncover these things, you found out, mission partners were astonished that they had so much more or so much uncovered, various bodied than they ever thought imagined. So those are the two big things. And then the third thing was the enablement or the education of cloud, right? Is mission partners were sold on the whole cloud concept for years, going, you can move to the cloud. It's that simple. It's the cloud. And we all realize that an application that is legacy built, that calls on Active Directory and all these very nuanced software and hardware pieces, that the interdependencies of how they communicate together are far more complex than being able to just lift and shift it to the cloud. So having that native VMware experience, because 90+% of agencies and DoD is on VMware, having that native experience where you can essentially drag and drop your virtual machine to the cloud is a massive game changer for them, because most of these mission partners spent literally years trying to rebuild these applications in the cloud. And massive amount of them we found failed because they didn't know where the data was. They didn't know how the application would speak to their on-premise cloud as well as the native cloud that they were trying to move to. So it was a really cool, eye-opening experience for people to see this evolution. And again, like I was saying, right, is AWS GovCloud, Azure, GCP, all the clouds are amazing with their depth and breadth of services. But unless you have a SME that can build those applications in the cloud natively from the beginning, trying to move those legacy applications to the cloud is a massive lift and shift. And that's where this value lies.
Yeah, and we all know how short everyone is on skills and resources, particularly in like highly customized areas of cloud at the moment, and what's emerging with AI and machine learning and things like that. It's highly sophisticated, very short resources. that makes absolute sense, and also I think it's interesting to see how that education aspect of it has come into it. You don't necessarily think that you're going to have to educate these guys, but when you look at what's really in a customer estate or a partner's estate, it's if you look at what's actually ready to go to cloud, what could go to cloud natively today is typically less than 5% of their estate. Perhaps for these guys even worse, maybe 2%. What then becomes data migration to SaaS solutions, and like you say, where is that data going to be residing? Am I going to need to tokenize it, and am I going to need to secure it in some way? Or the simpler path to move straight away into a vSphere environment. So it's a simple migration. You don't necessarily have to worry too much about all of the application dependencies or application feeds because it's layer 2, it's connected, it's simpler to move. And then you can take your time about how you really want to prioritize your development. And that's a key thing also, I think, is timescales. Everyone works on, quarterly budget. Things go cross quarters, especially in the development world.
Yeah, so I love that you mentioned that too, and I'll just touch on this really quickly, but you said budget, right? Budget with the government is key. It is above security. It's probably the next most important thing. And the beauty of the milCloud contract is it's firm fixed price. So what a lot of people out there are now starting to get is while commercial cloud is very valuable, there are lots of extra gotcha fees, right? Bandwidth fees, regional transaction, data transaction, egress fees, all these things with cloud. The beauty of milCloud is we have 0 of those. So all these agencies are benefiting from that because they have 0 bandwidth, 0 regional, 0 data transaction fees. And we're commercially imperative to commercial prices, right? All of our virtual machines are storage. So they get this huge benefit of what we're all talking about today, but 0 extra fees. So when you go to estimate this for the federal government, they can have very, very close estimates and not blow their budget in a matter of 2 months that they had for an entire year fiscal budget. So really cool thing there.
Wow. I mean, let me just summarize this, right? So a DoD mission partner 10 years ago, or 5 years ago even, was stuck in their data center with some old stuff that they were trying to maybe refresh, trying to do stuff in public cloud, realizing they couldn't because of security and other skills resources. Now they've got a way of predictively budgeting their spend because GDIT doesn't charge for bandwidth or egress bandwidth or any of the hidden charges that you'll get with hyperscale cloud. They can seamlessly move. I say seamlessly, there's no such thing as a seamless move, 100%, but comparatively, this is seamless. They can seamlessly move their data and their workloads as is into your cloud, into your data centers, and into a self-service portal where they can then expand and contract, consume as much as they want, secure, get a visibility of their security policies, get encryption, get all of the value that they need to maintain a working relationship as a DoD mission partner. And this is all down to you guys. I mean, this is incredible. Absolutely incredible.
That's a fantastic summary, Guy. I mean, you're spot on, right? The other major benefit that mission partners get from this is you hit all the nails on the head, except for one, is every mission partner on their own has to go through what is called an ATO process, or authorization to operate. They also have what is called an AO, or an authorizing official, who controls that entire process. Each one has had to go through that themselves individually from a massive effort. That's a huge amount of effort to go through that security. With us, they actually inherit our security package. So right off the bat, they inherit that. Their AO gets that in their hands. Obviously, they do their due diligence and check it through, but they inherit that whole package. So essentially everything from virtualization layer down to storage, compute, network, they get that inheritance package, and all they have to ATO is now the applications in the middleware. So it just accelerates it even further for them.
Yeah, so it's by default, right? It's a secure, encrypted, backed up, whatever, all of the whole 9 yards is there automatically for them. Like you say, it's up to the OS, and I guess then DOS protection, application protection, whatever they do on top.
Yeah.
So that's quite impressive. So how long did it take you guys to go through this transition and get up and running? I'm conscious that there was an acquisition a couple of years ago, 2018. Seems like a couple of years, but it's more than that now. And this whole design and implementation and stand up in your data centers, what was that like? And I guess, Daniel, how much involvement was there from staging this approach? Because obviously you're not going to get everything you want day one. And like you said, there was some engineering conversations, most likely some dot releases to get you where you need to be. What was that journey like? And, how long did it take you to get to where you are today on this?
Daniel, I'll kick it off by just the timing, and then I'll kick it over to you. So as you can imagine, like we've talked about, right, is doing something the first to market with something is massively challenging. You can plan, and I'll jokingly tell you guys this, since I'm the cloud services manager, we had a huge project plan for this that had over 1,800 actionable items, next steps, deliverables, security assessment, 1,800. Wow.
Yeah.
So, and not only that, you can imagine, right, a few hundred of them, we hit roadblocks that we didn't prepare for. So it took us we thought it was going to take 8 to 10 months. It took us 18 months to get to this point where we have a reference architecture that we can proliferate across multiple impact levels and everything like that. And I mean, I'll give a little shout out to our security team headed by Gene Litchfield and Cash. They have an amazing depth and breadth of understanding security requirements and stigging and all the things that go with security requirements. It was a massive undertaking. And as I said, doing something the first ever, that was a hard challenge, right? And other cloud providers right now are catching up. We have essentially an IP, an intellectual property now, that we have a reference architecture that's built, that's passed all the muster. And it's a really cool thing, but it took us about 18 months. Crazy amount of stuff. So over to you, Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, I started working on this and was it late 18, early 19, I want to say. It's in the initial concepts and the conceptual architecture, I want to say. So it's been a long-winded process, but I mean, the milCloud 2 and GDIT team are the ones that did the heavy lifting. I was there obviously for the cloud provider architecture and operationalizing that and proving that out to show that this is a viable model. But at the end of the day, it's a laborious process from especially the regulatory compliance. I mean, and that's hats off to the team. I mean, I think they did it in a time where it would take, I've seen other FedRAMP approvals on other permutations take much, much longer. I'll just say that. I'll leave it at that. Or they're unable to get approval because of other considerations. So it's, I mean, there's a lot of investment put into this. Yeah,
I think, 18 months, I've seen service providers spend longer over rolling out data centers than 18 months. And that's it's fast considering you've got IL5, FedRAMP, you've got all of the networking in, you're connected in securely, and you've got all these offerings and this portfolio already built. I mean, that and doing all the cataloging and pricing and agreements up front with DoD and just getting that compliant. I mean, obviously the compliance work is huge, absolutely huge. And Dan, I think getting the engineering side of it pushed in to product makes it a lot easier for milCloud then to move forward. And this, I guess, is coming to wrap up now. Is you've got a building block here of cloud infrastructure that you can just build on, right? And when you start using VMC and GovCloud, hooking those together, you've got a hybrid building block. And I think, I guess really what I was kind of wanting to finish on is, where is the future going for milCloud as you see it, Brian? We've got a 2.0 here. is there a 3.0 in the pipeline? What does that look like? Are you allowed to say anything?
You know what? You could be close to that, right? We are definitely strategically positioning ourselves for that being a key pillar of the DoD. Our contract right now ends. We have option. We're in option year 1. It's an 8-year contract. We're in option year 1, and it's through 2025. With the fact that we've built the first ever on-demand VMware IaaS, I'd be surprised if we don't get an extension. We're pushing for that as we speak. We've built an amazing reference architecture like what we're talking about, where people are just jaw dropped at how well it functions. And I've got some demos here if we want to look at it really quickly and see it in action. But you know, we are looking to proliferate that reference architecture that we're talking about. We're very close to doing it for IL6, which should come this fiscal year. So that's that top secret or SIPR cloud environment. We're having the OCONUS discussions as well. This is in deep talks with GDIT and lots of other OCONUS operators that are talking about moving this OCONUS because of lots of different requirements like GDPR and some of the other data sovereignty requirements that are out there. It would be hugely advantageous to have a cloud like this in the OCONUS theater. And for everybody that doesn't know, OCONUS just stands for outside the continental US.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got a lot of providers in EMEA, obviously running Cloud Director, and with things like Gaia X and all of the data privacy rules and the exchange of data in EMEA, that's becoming essentially the next currency for our century. It's a really interesting time to be looking at all this stuff. So let's finish up with a quick rundown. I want to see how you guys have put together the app, the Cloud Director interface, and what it looks and feels, how it looks and feels. So
I'm like you. I'm a little bit of a geek when it comes to that, right? I want to see the teaser. I want to see the real thing in operation, not just talk about the architecture of it, right?
Yeah.
So I'll give another quick shout out. Lisa Santiago is part of our VMware team. So is Joseph Polkar. They helped me pull together these videos. Amazing engineering team that was able to build this, by the way. So this is I'll just do real quick, creating a VM, creating a virtual machine. And this gives you a really good idea of what the skin of our environment looks like in the operations. But the great thing is here, you'll see that, right in vCloud, she does this really quick, by the way. So I'll let it play out. But you'll see that obviously milCloud skin in the top left-hand corner. Yeah. This is, again, vCloud Director all built out. And obviously this is a setup organization, or what's called org, inside vCloud Director. So it's essentially a mission partner account. Once the networking has been set up, and the cool thing is too, we allow something called QA extensions and IPsec tunnels, essentially just extending that fabric to a mission partner's on-prem data center. So they now only have our 2 regions, but they have their own. And so she's kind of showing how to create a virtual machine, how to build it. I mean, literally she did it in less than, a minute and a half. And that's how beautiful this is. The other cool thing is it's super VMware centric, right? So all certifications, VMware certifications translate for mission partners, for us, for our ops teams, really cool things across the board. But now mission partners can go and migrate virtual machines. And the cool thing is they can edit their virtual machines on the fly. So they can edit vCPU and VGB on the fly. They can edit virtual networking on the fly. They can edit storage policies on the fly. They can add storage volumes. The depth and breadth of the new cool feature functionality is massive in this offering.
Mm. And how are you doing sorry to interrupt, how are you capturing the kind of chargeback on what they consume?
Yeah, so that is a great question, and I will show you right here very quickly exactly what you're asking for. So the cool nuance about milCloud 2 is we have 2 separate portals for our environment, right? One called the business portal, and the other is called the provisioning portal. Simply put, the provisioning portal is what I just demoed. It's vCloud Director. Our business portal is controlled on the back end by ServiceNow. So the cool thing is they integrally talk to each other, and there are dashboards in Mission Partner's account. Because it's the business account, it handles all ops, dashboard, burn down, all that kind of stuff in the business portal. So a Mission Partner can go in on a daily basis and look at the burn down of how much they're using from that clip. So they have this awesome thing, like I talked about, is they can MIPR money over. So here's the cool little extra that I'll throw out there is They can nipper that funding over as quick as we talked about, right? In a month's time. Let's say they estimated, because that's a contractual requirement. Let's say they estimated like 1,000 virtual machines, some storage, some backup, blah, blah, blah. And that came to $1 million. The cool thing about our cloud is we jokingly call it the Bank of DISA fund, right? So they transfer that funding over to DISA, but it still is an on-demand environment. So they get to burn that down. So they're not using it until they use it, right? Just like a normal cloud. So even though they fund $1 million, they can now burn it down depending on the requirements that they want to. Just because the estimate said they wanted 1,000 virtual machines and blah, 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 they can actually adjust that on the fly depending on their needs. So it's really cool is mission partners are allowed to use that funding however they want. And oh, by the way, it's fiscally fungible across years if they work with DISA in order to do that. So now not only have they met budget constraints, but they're now able to use this funding in an on-demand nature and be flexible and agile to the needs of their mission and adjust as needed. So really cool stuff there.
And that's exactly why you guys need a reference architecture, just from the, a repeatable reference architecture from a capacity standpoint, right? I mean, if someone comes on and says, I'm going to burn through 500 VMs and they end up doing 5,000 because things change, you guys have got to be able to bring that capacity online as quickly as possible. Yeah,
you are spot on, right? And the last thing I'll show everybody here on the call is the other super cool thing that I love about our environment, right? Is just like most vCloud environments, is not only we have our regional data centers and creating virtual machines and virtual networks and libraries with ISOs and templates and all cool stuff for our mission partners. We also have the plugin feature functionality. So we have natively built in, and this is kind of a harken back to those really cool feature sets we talked about, right? So availability that you'll see here in the top right corner when you click on more. Availability is that DR migrations and replication engine that dramatically simplifies the migration for mission partners on VMware, they're on-prem to the cloud. So it allows them to DR, backup, all that stuff. And all of that really cool is free. That's never free in a cloud. You guys know this, VMware charges for DR. We don't. We actually give that for free with all the VMware core licensing when you buy the very first virtual machine. So it's a really cool added feature availability. The other thing that I'll call out really quickly is it directly plugged in backup as a service. It's called data. We call it data management. And that's that Rubrik behind the covers, right? Rubrik is one of the leaders in the industry. It's natively tied in and very easy to back up their virtual machines in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, I did a Feature Friday with those guys and looked at the plugin. I mean, it's a nice piece of work. And the great thing about all of this is you're giving the consumer a consumer cloud experience, a point and click, not having to learn new products, understanding basically what you want to be able to do and working out from the UI. I mean, there's obviously some help available to them, but it's very simple to use. It's not like you're redesigning for a completely new environment. It's the same vSphere environment under the covers.
Yep.
I'm very glad to see you got Kubernetes there as well. So addressing the development initiative that those guys want to be doing, I'm sure. Yep. And Operations Manager, so is this taking you to the tenant app plugin so they can see all their chargeback information and that's what's feeding ServiceNow? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so that's actually not the Operations Manager in this view is actually VROPS, right? It's their health and performance and metrics of their environment. So we actually have that plugin as well that's accessible for mission partners. But ultimately, you hit the nail on the head, right? Is the tenant app is what kicks back information to our business portal to allow mission partners to see their burn down rates.
And the reason and rationale behind that, guy, is they had other aggregate costs. And so the tenant app sends an API call to ServiceNow, and that's how they grab the data on that. So that's really the context there.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess there's going to be other things involved in the service that they're going to be buying. So yeah, it would need to be a part of the service, which is great. And using ServiceNow for what it's good at, using VROPS for what it's good at, and Tenant App and all of the tools in our portfolio. It's really great to see them actually all here. Listen, Brian, we're coming up to time, man. It's been really, really cool to have a walk through milCloud, have a chat with you about milCloud and what it's capable of. Any final thoughts from yourself or Daniel? Any final thoughts from you?
No, really just the final thoughts. My pleasure, Guy. I really appreciate you having me on today. Love working with Daniel. this has been one of those things that I am extraordinarily proud of in my lifetime. It's rare that you ever get to do something first. And our team is beyond amazing. And I'm just really proud that our team was able to bring this to fruition, not only for ourselves, but obviously to support the mission. So really happy to be here today. And thanks for the time, Guy.
Yeah, +1 on that one. And if you're a public sector VMware customer, definitely talk to the milCloud 2 team, or even talk to your VMware field team, right? Our federal team at VMware is fully aware of this. Definitely talk to them. And if you're part of VMware, you know how to reach out to me, and I'm happy to demonstrate this too. So thank you again, Guy, for having us on.
Listen, man, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much. It's really interesting to see this. I look forward to future developments. It sounds like it's going to be an exciting time for you guys. And yeah, keep it going, man. It's great to see. And I'm so pleased and proud that VMware is standing up beside you and backing this type of solution and providing all the support and you know, folks like Daniel to engage with you. But ultimately, it's people like you, Brian, who are driving this. So thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Yeah, cheers, Guy. Thanks, bud.
Take care. Bye-bye.